boy, it's the Tim Anderson Podcast. Welcome, everybody. I'm Tim, and that is the soon-to-be father, like 48 hours away, potentially, or could be longer than that, depending on how long the process is for you. But within days, it's imminent. Future father-to-be, Ryan Nelson Kane, carving out some time to join us on the pod. Ryan, how good to see you.
Good to see you too, Tim.
We'll get into baby watch in just a second. And then, of course, a guy who's already had plenty of those. Plenty of dad moments already.
The grizzled veteran.
The grizzled veteran that he is. Just such a pro at it. Had many a long labor, I'm sure. The coach, the teacher, the dad extraordinaire, Zach. Coach Zach Nienaber. How you doing, Zach?
Good, guys. That was quite the introduction.
I'm trying to, it's our big season premiere pod, for football. This is year 3 for us. And, you got to open it up with a bang, right? This is exciting stuff. And we're around some big moments here. Rhino is, every time I see Ryan, he's got more gray hair, like in his beard. This has been the longest 9 months of his life. Is that fair to say?
I'm ready for this to be done.
Ryan was so young and naive, Zach. He said to me, I remember this vividly, like 2-3 years ago, I want to have like 6 children. I want to have so many kids. I need a house of kids just everywhere. It's going to be like the Brady Bunch in my house. I need so many. Now he's looking at me going, I think this is it. One and done. This is all she wrote. I can't do this again.
And you haven't even got to the kid yet.
No, the kid hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah, this is me emulating my new favorite quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and the one and done. We'll get there, we'll get it done, and that'll be it, and we're over.
Fantastic! Oh, so good! It's so good. It is year 3 of the football podcast, everybody. As most people, if you're new to the podcast, first of all, welcome in. I do appreciate the listenership, and if you can continue to like us, subscribe, share out, tell a friend, tell a couple friends, and have them join in the pod. It was really great. I met, Ty introduced me to one of his relatives from Texas who's been a big listener of the pod this week, and I had a chance to meet him, and he was very positive at the show and trying to improve our Texas listenership, so that was very cool. I appreciated that conversation, and of course I want to send my our podcast condolences to Tyus about his dad last week. I hope to get Ty back on the pod real soon, but we are thinking of Ty this evening as we get started here on the podcast, year 3. We did this podcast. The idea of the podcast came from pandemic, COVID, lockdown. We wanted to watch the draft together, but couldn't. Not a bar to be had, not a place to go. We opted to just sit at our houses and talk football during the draft one night, and we decided to make a podcast out of it. So here we are, back again. How exciting is that? Gentlemen, I'm assuming you were consumed by football yesterday. Is that safe to say? Who wants to start? Ryan, Dad, future Dad, why don't you start?
Well, you and I were on the golf course.
Very consumed, though, by football.
Most of yesterday. But we spent the entire time listening on Sirius XM on your radio app. I was enthralled. Obviously, it's something that we were very interested in. I came home. I took a little bit of a nap and then watched the rest of the. I had to work last night, but
I guess so.
I had to get a little bit of sleep before the shift and watch the end of that putrid Cowboys showing against Tampa. By the way, shout out to Sean in our fantasy league. Just a banger of a keeper with that $9 keep on Dak Prescott. Next time we have that thought to maybe keep a Cowboys quarterback for $9, just hand me the money. I'll kick you in the balls and you can watch me as I light it on fire.
I just want to rewind for a second here and say I hope you enjoyed your final nap on Sunday, because that's the last one for about 7 years.
I don't know if you know this. Zach started sleeping for like 3 years, and then he decided, what the hell, I'll have a couple more newborns, and now he's back to not sleeping again. When was the last time you slept 8 hours at once, Zach?
I think I did it not the last time Caitlin went out of town with the boys, but 2 times ago. So probably Easter.
Good luck, Rhino.
When was the last time you slept, Zach? Oh, I don't know, but I think the World Trade Center was still standing.
Oh, Jesus, too soon. What's the matter with
well, you? Friday into Saturday morning, I crawled into bed at 3 a.m. and Garrett crawled into bed at 5:45. He was up.
Jesus Christ. I will pass on all of that, gentlemen. I live vicariously through you when it comes to the parenting, and maybe we'll work a little parent moment. Like, Ryan, maybe this season we're going to check in with you and be like, fatherhood moment number 1. What's this week's fatherhood moment? And we're going to have you reveal it as we go through the football season. So this is kind of fun. Week 1, we have no baby yet. We're going to see where we are at week 18. It's going to be so good.
You gotta lay that with like the Bed of the Masters music.
We'll do that. We'll get that done.
Fatherhood moment of the week.
That's good.
This week he threw up all over my shirt. This has been the fatherhood moment of the week.
Zach will be like, I've been there, man. Been there, done that many times. Football yesterday, exciting stuff. Zach, how much football did you get in, and what was your headline? What's the big headline coming into today?
I actually didn't get a ton of football in. At least not a ton of NFL football.
Oh, you were game filming, were you? You were planning.
Yeah, so we had coaches meetings in the morning and film, and then I coached a softball game that started at noon. So that killed the noon time slot for me. I guess I caught about the fourth quarter of those games, and then I caught about a quarter of Vikings Packers, and then the boys got up from nap and we played monster trucks.
There you go, Ryan.
And then I saw a little bit of the Cowboys game.
Yeah, and yeah, like Ryan said, we were out on the golf course for a little charity function, and we had Sirius XM going in the cart. I'm usually not a big fan of the music or anything going on in the cart, but it didn't bother me this time around, and I had fun listening to it, and really did a nice job. Again, the guys at Sirius XM, the NFL, whatever that Blitz is or whatever, they do a really good job of zipping you around to all the games. So we stayed pretty much engaged the whole time, which was nice.
You had the radio in the cart then?
Yeah, I had the radio on my phone. I just had the phone on in the cart, which is usually like a cardinal sin for me. Cardinal sin.
Yeah, I was going to say, rules for thee, but not for me.
No, hang on a minute now. I've never told anybody they couldn't listen to it. I'm just not a fan myself. But when people come into my group with music, I usually always say, it's fine, go ahead and listen to the music if that's what you want to do. Don't pigeonhole me. How dare you?
Will say... I asked him prior to starting it.
Yes. Me and Ty have talked about it. Me and Ty have talked about this. Yes.
I have been in the cart for multiple Tim Anderson rants when other people on the course had it.
No, it's just when it's so loud when you're 3 holes over and I can hear your bullshit music. Yes, I get upset about that. That bothers me. I shouldn't have to hear it. Unless you're in my group. But if you're 3 holes over, I shouldn't have to hear that. Come on. This isn't rocket science. I didn't think this was controversial stuff. Like, I didn't think so.
No, I'm with you.
I feel like we could get both houses of Congress on board on this. I think we could get everybody on board. The Supreme Court could probably even agree with that. Don't get Ryan started, though, on Supreme Court stuff. He just shot me a nasty glare. Okay, we'll keep that out. Judge Coney Barrett would really approve of no music in the cart 3 holes over. It's all I'm saying. Anyway, let's talk. So what's the headline then? Since you've read the headlines all day and certainly watched stuff here, Zach, and you're just looking at the tea leaves and looking at the rosters and looking at what happened yesterday, what's the thing that you're kind of sticking to after day one?
I think, the biggest headline right now is Dak was not only terrible, but now he's hurt.
Yeah, that's a double whammy there.
I mean, that now means I think the division is the Eagles to lose because there's not a whole lot else there. What a terrible play by the Seahawks. Sorry.
Ryan and Zach got an eye on the Seahawks game, and I'm going to be living vicariously through Ryan's eyes as we go through this game here tonight because we are recording during the Monday night game. Ryan, do you agree on this one? I think, the Dak headline is probably number one because that was probably the biggest injury other than maybe T.J. Watt yesterday. But he didn't, as Zach said, he didn't look real good before that, though. There's problems there in Dallas, right?
Yeah, I kind of came out of that game obviously, the Dak injury completely makes this the case, but you kind of watched that game and thought, man, I kind of thought Tampa Bay might be the collapse candidate this year, but now you're kind of wondering, is Dallas the collapse candidate? You had all that drama in the offseason with Tampa, and you and I have always been on the same page, Tim, where we've never thought that kind of offseason drama is ever a good thing. Distractions are not something that you want on a football team. But my goodness, Dallas looked bad. Offensively, defensively, special teams didn't look great. I mean, all of it was bad. It was a three-phase failure for Dallas, and you lose the starting quarterback.
I didn't think it was a failure completely. I thought defensively they played okay. It wasn't bad. They only gave up one touchdown, gave up a bunch of field goals. Yeah, I didn't think Tampa was all that amazing. Like, I didn't come out of that game wowed by anything Tampa did. I was just
I thought they ran the ball pretty well.
They did. Fournette looked a lot better than what he looked like 2 months ago. Like, he didn't look like Fat Lenny. He looked like, just a little doughy Lenny, but he was running well last night. Like, he was running through the defense, and it seemed like they were kind of gouging him for big plays. And Tom made between the 20s, Tom was untouchable, and then it just felt like they couldn't convert the third downs when they needed to until the very end to put the thing away.
Well, they didn't. The only week they practiced red zone stuff, he was off.
Yeah, that's
the week off, though.
Apparently now. So Ian Rappaport said yesterday he was in the Bahamas with the wife. Now we're hearing there's marital issues. I don't know what to believe with all this stuff, but Tom is in this. That's going to be the story all year, right? That's going to follow Tom. That's going to follow Tampa all season long. Is the Giselle, Tom, Bahamas divorce stuff? Am I right? Zach says maybe. Ryan?
I don't know, man. It all feels bad if you're in that situation. I don't know. It all feels bad.
It all feels weird. Godwin got hurt again, although they say it's just a hamstring injury. Maybe a couple weeks might be all right. Get back on the field, which is a good sign because obviously he took the nasty ACL injury last year. You don't want him to get re-injured. Other than that, I agree. The Dak is the number one headline. Anything else that you're thinking about at this moment? Any other game that sticks out to you that you think we should jump into right away before we go around the league or maybe say some apologies?
Well, I think you have to consider that Buffalo looked like the real deal.
Sure did.
Yep.
They dominated every facet of that game with the Rams.
Absolutely curb stomped the defending Super Bowl champions on the road.
Well, it's basically a home game.
That's fair too. But you got to travel and stuff like that. Like, you got to get on the plane.
There were a lot of Bills fans there. There were a lot of Bills fans at that game. It's not hard to get a ticket apparently if you are the opposition.
You know it's NFL season when the Rams are going silent count at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, they look good, and that was kind of a few days removed, so maybe people could forget about that a little bit, but I thought Buffalo was really impressive, and we talked about this in the over-under pod, Ryan, that I wasn't necessarily sure that Buffalo was the best team just yet, and that they had a really tough 6-game stretch to start the season. I still think it's a tough 6-game stretch, but they passed a really big hurdle of that 6-game stretch on Thursday night.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought that, in almost every facet, they looked really, really good. I think that you kind of wondered if maybe they would lose a step, losing Dable to the Giants, and their offense looked fine.
Ken Dorsey, next head coach somewhere. Dorsey looked like a genius. And
to that point too, I mean, the Giants look like a different team with Dable at the helm. I mean, what would normally have been a moment for them to fumble the ball and completely piss down their own leg a couple of years ago. I mean, they went out and won on a 2-point conversion this week. So, I mean, it just feels like everything that is coming from Buffalo right now is good news.
I think the Giants win was probably the most shocking.
Yeah, it was.
It certainly killed my survivor pool. I think that the other one, too, that is of note is the Browns win.
Yeah.
Because we do have a team that's got, a weaker schedule at the start here, but they're going to be missing their starting quarterback for a while. But hey, if they can they can do this and stick around and play. I mean, it's where do you see them now? Because the Bengals lost.
Yeah.
We don't know how much we really trust the Steelers.
It's true.
Like, I mean, and what happens if Jacoby Brissett leads this team to the playoffs?
You know, if they can tread water, I mean, what were we thinking, Ryan? And we thinking 500 for Cleveland. If they could kind of be 5-6, 6-5 when Deshaun came back on the field, that you'd have to feel like they were in it, right?
Yeah,
yeah. But you know, you couldn't be worse than that. You didn't think you couldn't be 4-7. You couldn't be 3-8, anything like that. That's a big one. You know, Carolina's not any great shakes or anything, but that's still a road game with your backup quarterback. Winning that game is like stealing one, and the schedule's not that hard early.
And now they get the Jets.
Yep.
It didn't look great either.
No, I mean, and so, and let's be honest here. Like, I mean, Jacoby Brissett wasn't, you know, lighting the world on fire or anything, but you know, he's probably playing for a job next year with someone, right?
Yeah.
Someone that's not Cleveland. Right? He's hoping to get one more shot at starting somewhere.
Right.
And it kind of becomes that question, though, of like, I mean, he only threw for like 150 yards. But if he's winning games, right, you get into that like Jimmy G territory where you're like, well, how good is this guy?
Right. Yeah, if you're asking the question, someone's going to think that he's good enough to get a job. I think that if we're looking at games that were a little surprising, we kind of have to talk about Chicago beating San Francisco, right? San Francisco, I don't think we thought was going to light the world on fire, but they're certainly, we thought, way more talented than Chicago. And Chicago won. I mean, it's a 2-possession game that they won at home. The rain was not good, but
yeah, we have to draw a line through that a little bit? I kind of Soldier Field shit. And that field was underwater by there was like a foot of water on the field. I mean, there was no grass. It was just water. The sidelines were painted crooked. Like it wasn't. You can't call it. That's why I can't panic, right? There are some people I'm sure in San Francisco that are panicking on Trey Lance, and they're like, I don't know. That is an inconclusive test. Right? We can't. The Bears got the equalizer. You know, the weather, when there's a bad game, Zach, you've coached many a football game. You could probably speak to this even better than me. When the weather is bad, it is the equalizer for a bad team. A bad team can hang around in a game when the field conditions change, because all of a sudden athleticism's sort of out the window, and it's just about staying on your feet, right? I mean, it kind of takes some of that speed away, it takes some of that talent away, and it kind of levels the playing field. Am I right?
For sure. I was going to say the same thing when right before you said about striking a line through it. It's a good win, right? I mean, obviously you'd rather win it than lose it, but I'm not ready to make any grand decisions. I mean, watching those last 5 minutes of that game, it was laughable, right? I mean, and they're trying to throw the ball, and it was just a dumpster fire. So,
I mean, should we move into? Do you want to move into overreactions, Tim, and we can kind of?
Yeah, let's. I think this is a great opportunity because it's a good segue for that. Because I mean, I think there are some people who are panicking on San Francisco. I don't think that's overreaction. I think you got to calm down, draw a line through that. Let's see where we are in 2-3 weeks. Give me. You got to give me 2-3 games on Trey Lance before we can have a conversation about that. At least in some reasonable conditions. I'm not ready to go there yet.
So you will be starting him again next week in fantasy?
I just might, because my other option is Matt Stafford. Let me talk about overreactions for a minute. I'll start here. I'm a little concerned about the Rams. Here's my concern. They got Allen Robinson to be this great alternative, and it sounds like he was open. You know, you listen to Matthew Berry and some other guys, like there were many a route. He was on the field for 57 or 59 snaps or whatever it was, and he was open, and Stafford couldn't get him the ball and didn't get him the ball. He was force-feeding it to Cooper Kupp the entire night. That's a concern, all right? I'm a little concerned about that. We also still don't really know about this elbow. They've been so secretive about this, and it's always so cryptic. It's always, I'm good to go, but I don't know. He's not practicing today, but he's good to go, I swear to God. We're just not going to practice him ever. and we're not going to do anything to risk the arm. And he's out going and seeing major league pitcher doctors, people who work with the pitchers, and checking out rehab things for an elbow and doing all of this. There might be more there than I think, or than we have been told on Matthew Stafford. And I think I'm almost ready to press the old overreaction panic button. Do you think I'm overreacting, Ryan, on Matthew Stafford?
I do a little bit. My concern with the Rams is what feels like kind of a similar issue to what San Francisco had last year and to some extent the year before, where you just kind of feel like that they've got so many weapons that they're not really sure what to do with them at this point. And what's the depth in that wide receiver room at this moment, right? They don't feel like they're very deep. They don't feel like, if you look at some of the teams around the league that are, weapons teams, right? Like Kansas City right now, we don't know who's going to get the ball, but we know all of them are dangerous, right? Which makes all of them dangerous all the time. That we saw that this weekend with Arizona. We'll talk about this in a minute because this is one of my overreactions. But Kansas City looked unstoppable. Buffalo looked unstoppable. The Rams should be in that category, but they're not right now. And you kind of have to wonder if maybe there's a too many cooks in the kitchen sort of thing. So I don't worry so much about Stafford. I do worry about that offensive line too. That they've got some new pieces there. They had a little bit of trouble keeping him upright the entire game on Thursday. You kind of wonder if maybe throughout the season, if he keeps taking licks, if that elbow gets worse.
Am I overreacting on Stafford, Zach? Do you have opinions? What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, we saw last year he struggled.
Yeah.
He led the league in interceptions last year.
Yeah, he threw a lot of picks. He got hot in the playoffs and got him to the Super Bowl, got him to the championship. But you're right. There were a lot of games where that was a little sketchy, right? I mean,
yeah.
I'm concerned here. And there is no Odell Beckham. There aren't some of these saviors that are coming in. Like, what they've got is what they've got.
I found it interesting that when Ryan was listing off his unstoppable offenses, he did not list the Philadelphia Eagles, who put up 35 or 38.
Eagles
38.
Eagles look good offensively. They did
give
give
up. The
up
defense is a little suspect, but yeah.
But that Lions team might be better than we think. We'll get to them and when we get around the league. But yeah, that's
the Lions still stink. Everyone's in love with them because they're on Hard Knocks.
Yeah. And they love Dan Campbell.
Campbell gives a couple of one-liners.
Yep. That's
like
they're
not good.
All right, overreaction. Anybody else? Ryan, you said you have an overreaction?
Yeah, I'm pressing the panic button on both the Arizona Cardinals and the New England Patriots. That both of those teams looked straight up bad yesterday. The team that you might expect that I'd want to troll a little bit, we're talking about Green Bay, and they didn't look great yesterday. I'm not panicking if I'm Green Bay because it's week one and they didn't look good in week one last year either. So they know not to panic, but Arizona's usually good early. New England usually looks more prepared than they did, especially against a division opponent.
Well, hold on. They were in Miami.
They never win in Miami.
They never win in Miami.
That's fair.
I'm pretty sure the last time they won in Miami, I only had one kid. Let's be honest here, right? So let's pump the brakes here on the New England Panthers.
Jay Fiedler was the quarterback of the Dolphins. Come on now.
I mean, they didn't look great. The concern you need to have is if Mac Jones is hurt.
Yeah, the back injury came up negative on the X-rays came up negative on Mac Jones, so it may be just spasms. But it could be like Brian Hoyer versus Mitch Trubisky this Sunday with the Steelers versus the Pats, and that sounds exciting. Go ahead, Zach.
So that's my sorry. I'll just want to get to Ryan's teams there.
No, you fire away because I want to add on to the New England thing too in a second, but I'll let you go.
Yeah, so I'm not going to panic there unless they end up with a backup quarterback. But obviously, if anyone has their backup quarterback, you're probably going to be stressing out.
Yes.
The Cardinals, I mean, they played one of the best teams in football. and they fell behind early. And if you're falling behind and playing catch up, you're in trouble there. We talked about Kyler Murray, over the offseason, and I said what a waste of money it would be to sign him, and they didn't listen to me. Shocker. They did not call me for my opinion. But so they're going to be in a good division again too, right? We think the 49ers will be decent.
They'll respond, we think, right? Based on that, Seahawks look a little better than we think, a little frisky against Denver.
The Rams will be better than, even we're talking about the Rams in terms of like, are we worried about them? The Rams are still going to be better than, you're going to be an above 500 team, even if they're not good, right?
We think so. I think that's fair to say.
So that's maybe the concern there. The Packers one, I have zero concern with. Their approach to the preseason, definitely can bring up questions, right? Because they've had 2 straight really bad season openers.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think as a Minnesota fan, you have to be disappointed that you won by so little, considering the crappy Saints beat them by 35 last year.
Look at Ryan. Oh, man, we got to almost get the video pod out just for this segment so we can get Ryan's face as he's pounding a blizzard. No doubt reflecting on his decisions that he's made in the last 9 months over this blizzard. No question about it. Here's where I'm going to agree with Ryan on the Patriots thing, and I'm a Patriots guy. Here's where I'm a little concerned. And I think this. I've been thinking about this because it's like, do I want to panic here? Here's the only reason I'm a little bit concerned. I'm in Bill we trust, right? In Belichick we trust. He always seems to push the right buttons. He's a good coach. He knows what he's doing. But he has Patricia calling the plays and Joe Judge coaching the quarterbacks. And I think you and I, Zach, you being a ball coach, you understand defensive guys call offensive plays all the time and vice versa. And ball coaches are ball coaches, and I understand that. It is hard, though, to just replace a guy who is just eat, sleep, drinks, everything, Patriots offensive football for the better part of 15 years, minus the couple years he spent in Denver or whatever. This has been his life, calling plays and scheming, and he's a progressive thinker, and he's a good offensive coordinator. And to not replace that with what we think is the same acumen or anything close to the same offensive acumen, I do think is a concern. And I'm starting to worry that this Patriots coaching staff just isn't as strong as previous Patriots coaching staffs, right? Like, there's no Scarnecchia coaching the offensive line. It just feels like it's his son calling the defense, and out are the days of Brian Flores and McDaniels and all of that. And I just feel like he doesn't have any faith to go out and get an offensive coordinator that he trusted. He clearly just wanted to keep everything in-house, doesn't trust anybody else, and I just worry that I think that's a tactical error, and I'm concerned about that as the season goes forward.
Interesting that you're praising the Josh McDaniels offense that just put up 19 points in Vegas and looked terrible.
But you can't deny that he had success with Tom, and they were scheming good stuff with Mac Jones last year.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just he's a good, I think we can agree he's a good offensive coach. Like, even if he's not Vince Lombardi, he understands how to work with a young quarterback and scheme and come up with ways to make plays. They have not hit the drafts much in the last 4 or 5 years. They don't have a ton of talent on the offensive side of the ball. And, if you're a young quarterback, do you really want Joe Judge in your ear every 2 minutes when you don't think Joe Judge has ever coached quarterbacks in his life? I don't know.
No, it definitely is an interesting decision for sure at that level, right? Like, I can see it in, right, when you're talking about high school coaches and things of that nature, but it is an interesting decision to go essentially without anyone who's called offense before. Again, the Seahawks just look lost in the secondary tonight.
What's
kind of difficult watching here.
Do we have a score update over there yet?
Seattle's up 17-10.
Wow. Go Hawks.
Denver's driving here in the final 30 seconds of the half. I guess what was your thoughts on the Packers game, Tim?
So here's I caught the second half in its entirety, and we listened to a chunk of it when we were finishing up at the golf course. I guess it's, it's hard to say because I don't know if, I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers doesn't come in prepared, but I just felt like Aaron Rodgers was making a lot more. I mean, every summer now, increasingly, Aaron Rodgers is making more and more media things. He's going on different podcasts. He's coming up with outlandish remedies. He's drinking ayahuasca tea. He's just, I feel like he's cantankerous and he's a little unlikable with each passing year. And I think he just really believes he's the smartest guy in the room a lot of times, which is, something that happens with quarterbacks. But I just think that they're kind of in the position that a lot of teams get into where, like, all right, they paid him a lot of money, but something's got to give, can't pay everybody. And now they're looking at an offense that's young and inexperienced and devoid of some of those skill players that they've had in the past. And it's going to take a little time to get that back up and running and get that where they're going. Now, if there's anybody that's going to do it, it's him, because I'm not going to bet against him. But it just looked like, if you looked at the sidelines, I mean, body language, take it or leave it. He looked frustrated. The team looked despondent. It didn't seem, they weren't out of it, as you mentioned, Zach. It's not like they were getting run by 30. That was a 2-score game early fourth quarter. And it just felt like they were never going to close the gap and win. Vikings fans were scared to death. Because I had a couple of my friends, my co-owner Nick, texting me, can't believe we're getting conservative. What's going on with this coach? I thought he was supposed to be an offensive genius. And I'm like, let's calm down a minute. Like, we've only played 3 quarters of football here.
He's talking about, is he unprepared or whatever? I mean, he did come out and his first pass in a real game or any sort of competitive game, because he didn't do preseason. Yep. He throws it 50 yards and drops it in the bucket.
Yeah.
I mean, it was right there. Should have been a touchdown. I don't know. I mean, it's got to be a weird thing for Minnesota, like playing their Super Bowl on week 1. But kudos to them. They did outplay them. I'm sure they'll probably hang a banner up. Ryan's all giddy because Cousins has got 4 wins against Aaron Rodgers.
5 wins against Aaron Rodgers. But I don't know. You mentioned it, Zach, that the 2 really bad starts to a season in a row, it does make you wonder about, what's their preseason look like? What's their training camp look like? Are they not, should they play their guys a little more in I don't know. I don't know what the math or the equation is on that, but whatever it is, it just hasn't worked the first 2 weeks to start a season. Now, they rattled off 7 in a row last year, so I'm not going to, like I said, we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. I'm just saying that there's something there with Rodgers that's a little off, right? He's the CM Punk of the league. He looks like CM Punk, kind of acts like CM Punk sometimes.
No, it's a interesting. I mean, like I said, I think you can discuss their approach to preseason and what it's done, but
I'm not giving up on them. They got the Bears this weekend. I feel like they're going to win that game. Now, if they lose to Chicago this weekend and the Bears are all of a sudden 2-0 and the Packers are 0-2, we can talk about that. I think then we've got something to look at, I think. But let's see what they do this week. And then that's a TBD on Green Bay. Ryan has been sitting there exasperated because Zach's been trolling. Ryan, your thoughts on this Vikings game before we go around the league?
I'm not going to comment on the Packers because I think that seriously, I think this was a one-off game for them. This was not indicative of the Packers team we're going to see this year. That's a really talented defense.
And he wants to be able to go back there, and he wants to make sure that when he gets accepted into the Packers fandom, that they will accept him in there. He wants to make sure that he's playing both sides of the aisle right now. It's very smart.
I was
very Joe Manchin-like, by the way. You're doing a great job. I like the way you're doing this. This is great.
I was very impressed with the Vikings' ability to get pressure on Aaron Rodgers through the game. I mean, obviously they're missing their starting left and right tackles, so take that with a grain of salt. But still, that's an aggressive defense that we really haven't seen a whole lot from Minnesota. They were able to stop in kind of that middle 2 minutes. So the last 2 minutes of the half, they didn't completely crumble like they did last year, which is awesome. I'm super for that. And then offensively, I thought they looked phenomenal offensively. I mean, there was a couple of drives where it kind of sputtered a little bit, but Jefferson had a huge day. And, that once they were able to get the passing game going, the running game looked a little bit better, and they were kind of gouging the Packers late. Zach, did they have any major injuries on defense yesterday, or was it just kind of they just hadn't seen this offense before?
Well, I think that's part of it, right? There's no film aside from preseason, and we know how that is.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's definitely a big advantage. But no, they're relatively healthy on defense.
I mean, there was that second touchdown that Jefferson had, caught it super wide open. I mean, I don't know what happened. It just looked like a breakdown in coverage. I just don't know who was supposed to be there. Looked like somebody followed the other crossing route across the field and just kind of left him there.
Yeah, it looked like it's so hard because, right, NFL teams are running much more complex systems than
right.
But it looked like they were trying to play cover 3, and the outside safety carried his guy to the inside, and the problem is there was no pressure either, so he had time to run a crossing route all the way across the field.
Yeah,
and that's problematic too.
All
yeah,
right.
for sure. But that's just my general thought on the game. We'll take the win, obviously, and you're happy with that your team beat your rival, but I don't think that's indicative of the Packers team you're going to see. I do think that that's more of what you'll see from Minnesota. The scheme looked good yesterday. It looked that it felt different than the Zimmer years. It felt like they were pressing a little bit more. It felt more aggressive. And I think the mentality kind of philosophy change is really what you were looking for if you're a Vikings fan offensively.
Yeah, it was a good game yesterday from KOC, I must say. As a guy who's been in the wait and see, and I still am, right? I'm not ready to anoint him anything here. But I was in the wait and see camp. What I saw yesterday was pretty good. He had a well-prepared football team, and he executed his game plan, and that's all you can ask for. So, got nothing but good things to say.
Now you go do that against Philadelphia next week. I'll get a little chesty on the podcast.
Sure, you bet. Why wouldn't you? Let's go around the league. I'm just going to run through some scores of some games because we haven't hit on everything yet. And if you want to, we can drive right through it, or you can stop and offer an opinion or two as we zip through it. Obviously, Seahawks and Broncos are playing right now. Ravens beat the Jets yesterday 24-9. Lamar Jackson 213-3. Rashad Bateman caught a touchdown, 2 catches, and one of them was a TD. Anything interesting there? Nothing? Moving on?
Go Gophers, roll the boat.
The Browns beat the Panthers 26-24. Cade Young, 58-yard field goal at the gun. Jacoby Brissett, 147 and a touch. Nick Chubb, 141 on the ground for the Browns. Not a great game for Christian McCaffrey would be my note coming out of this game, Zach. 10 carries, 33 yards, and a touchdown. Baker Mayfield, pretty average, 235.
Yeah, and yet they were in position to win it at the end and kind of let it up again. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm not a fan. The coach is going to get fired at the end of this year, I think.
I would agree.
Right?
He hasn't done anything.
How many different quarterbacks do you get to take a shot with before you say what's the common denominator here?
Correct. I'm not in on Matt Rule. I think that's that hire has not worked out. It has not been a good hire to this point. And I think the Panthers are looking at their options at the end of the season if they don't get something good out of it this year. Continuing, get our first tie of the season. Yippee, good for us. The Colts and the Texans tie it at 20, a 17-point fourth quarter from the Colts. They look dead to rights. We were starting to think Frank Reich might be first coach fired right away there, but they rally. They force a tie. Matt Ryan had 352. Jonathan Taylor had 161 on the ground. Game was I don't know what the Colts are. I have no idea. I think the Colts, I mean, they seem like they've got talent. I know you've been off the Matt Ryan train for a while, Zach. But they've gotten to the playoffs with Phillip Rivers. Like, I got to think they could get there with Matt Ryan with the talent they have, but that didn't look like it yesterday.
It's a really
they might stink.
Yeah.
That division's so bad.
Yep.
Speaking of that division, the Jacksonville Jaguars put up a fight, but they lose to the Washington Cobra Commanders 28-22. Lawrence 275, but Carson Wentz had 313 and 4 You doubted him, and now he's here, Ryan. Carson Wentz for the Cobra Commanders.
Beat somebody real and get back to me. Carson Wentz stinks.
Had a hell of a game yesterday. Had a hell of a game. Just going to point that out.
Blind squirrel, not broken clock, right twice a day.
Zach, Dolphins, Patriots, 20-7. We talked about that a little bit. Mac Jones looked icy. I don't think Tua looked all that good, though. Like, Tyreek Hill had a nice game, 8 catches, 94 yards. I'm still not sure Tua's good. Do you think?
Well, it was interesting because on Twitter yesterday, somebody was getting chesty about the Chiefs and saying, like, oh, the Chiefs were, made Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill doesn't make the Chiefs. I just said, maybe they're both good.
It's possible.
Right? Like, Tyreek Hill had a nice game, right? He had
a
bunch of catches and a bunch of yards, and they won the game. And I think that they both things can be true.
That's true.
Right? They've got a really good quarterback in Kansas City, and they've got some other talented receivers there. And Tyreek Hill's still going to get his catches and scores in Miami.
What you have to see in that game, I think, was the biggest takeaway after I watched some of the highlights and some of the things back. Like, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are better athletes than anybody the Patriots have on offense, which makes me worry for the Patriots because they don't have more offensive talent than the Bills. And now I'm seeing they don't have the speed or the talent that the Dolphins have. It's hard for me to see the Patriots winning 7 games. As a Patriots guy, I'm having a tough time seeing 7 wins on the schedule based on the fact that they're going to be on the downside of the talent scale in a lot of the games they're in this year. It's a concern.
You're saying I shouldn't have drafted them in our team challenge.
Well, somebody had to take them. They weren't going to be one of the 2 left off. More on that in just a second. Saints beat the Falcons. They come from behind with a 17-point fourth quarter to beat the Falcons 27-26. Jameis Winston 269 and 2, Mariota 215 in the air. Nice day for Cordell Patterson, 120 and a touch. Saints pull that one out of their ass. Good for them. They needed it. Saints might be okay, but that was not a great. You got the kitchen sink though from the Falcons, didn't you, Ryan? That was a kitchen sink game for Atlanta.
Yeah, we said this in our chat after the game yesterday. You got the best shot from Atlanta in this game. I don't know that they have anything better, and I certainly don't know if they're going to come any closer to beating New Orleans this year. So,
I kind of see it that way too. I think the Saints are good. I think the Saints might win 10 games. I think that they might be a good team. 10-11. Eagles beat the Lions 38-35. Jalen Hurts 243. A really good game from A.J. Brown. 10 catches, 155. That's pretty darn solid. Good game for DeAndre Swift on the other side. He had 144 yards and a touch. Good pick by Uzak in the fantasy draft this year. Nice work.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
You always seem to get that guy, and I never get him. It pisses me off. Every year you get the guy that always blows up and has 175 goddamn yards. And I'm over here with a bunch of dudes who are splitting time. Now all of a sudden Aaron Jones sucks and can't get on the field. A.J. Dillon's going to get 100 carries this year. I hate my life. Hate it. It's bullshit.
Okay. So I beat you this week.
Yes, you did. After conceding the match to me Thursday night, I had to reconcede. You had to pull the concession off the table. I had to concede it back to you on Sunday night. Total horseshit.
Okay, but let's talk here for a second. The whole thing came down to quarterback.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, because I had DeAndre Swift go nuts, but you also had Jonathan Taylor.
Fair.
They matched each other.
Yep.
So and you had Diggs.
Yeah,
but
I did.
What it came down to is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, he killed
an
me.
NFL quarterback versus Trey Lance.
That's in a monsoon.
A guy who should be suiting up for a JV college team.
Wow.
And I was going to give you a hard time for starting him.
I didn't have a choice. Look what I had, Stafford.
You made the right choice, right? He outscored Stafford.
Believe me, I'm looking at the wire. We're going to see what we can do this week, if we can do anything at all. The Steelers beat the Bengals 23-20. They come from behind a little bit. Actually, it was a good fight. They were ahead a good chunk of that game. It was a good back and forth with those teams. Joe Burrow didn't look very good. He had 338 and 2 touchdowns, but he had 4 picks. And I'm worrying about a little Super Bowl hangover, Ryan and Zach. Ryan first. Super Bowl hangover maybe for Cincinnati, or are you going to draw a line through this one too?
I'm going to draw a line through this one a little bit. I don't think that he throws 4 picks a week. I just don't think he's that kind of quarterback. Excuse me, got a little bit of a hiccup here.
It's all those blizzards.
Yeah, right. I'm not pounding ice cream sandwiches and pounding blizzards, and it's catching up.
It's labor pains.
Yeah, right. I draw a line through it. I think the Bengals are going to be fine. I don't think that they're a bad team. They're talented. I think that they're going to take some time to gel on the offensive line, and that's going to be a problem for them early. And like I said, draw a line through it. I'm confident they'll bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, they win the game if their long snapper's healthy.
That's true, too, right? That was a big storyline that they won't talk about in 10 weeks, but they could have overcome all of those turnovers if they just had a long snapper who could get a ball to the kicker and the holder.
And let's be honest here, too. Even the one that they missed in overtime that got blocked, in regulation that got blocked, right? The extra point at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That is on the wing. The wing jumped outside and let Fitzpatrick run right underneath him. I don't know what he was doing, but that was maybe some of the worst blocking on an extra point I've ever seen. So even with the snap that floated there a little bit, it should have still gone through if they block it right.
Yeah. All you got to do is step down, and he didn't do that.
He stepped out. He opened up the lane for him. So
amateur stuff.
And Fitzpatrick's, I feel like he's the one guy you sort of have to account for all the time because I feel like he is everywhere for Pittsburgh. Like that guy literally makes every play. Like he picks off balls all the time. He seems like he's always making tackles. He's just around every single big play that Pittsburgh makes. I feel like you have to block him all the time.
How good does that trade continue to look for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Every time he steps out of the field.
Brilliant. I mean, it was so smart. So smart. Continuing around the league, the Niners lose to the Bears. We talked about that in the monsoon. Not much we can say. Trey Lance did run for 54 yards and threw for 164, but it was impossible to do anything there. Justin Fields did get 2 touchdowns late, and the Bears win. Nothing more to say there. We talked Vikings-Packers. Vikings did win that game 23-7. Great game from Kirk Cousins. And a really good game from Justin Jefferson. It was just off the charts good. Only 5 carries for Aaron Jones. That led the team in rushing for the Packers. 49 yards on 5 carries. Got to be better than that if they're going to go forward. They may not have the talent at wide receiver, so you got to run the ball. Other games. We talked a little bit about the Chiefs, but not a ton. We talked Cardinals. The Chiefs just roll up the cards, and it wasn't this close. It was 44-21 was the final. It was not that close. It was 37-7 at one point, and ugly. They dominated the game. Pat Mahomes was off the charts. 360 yards, 5 touchdowns. Ryan, you ready to apologize to Kansas City?
Oh, my issue was not that Kansas City was I didn't say they were a bad team. I just thought that there were 3 other teams in their division that were really, really good, and I thought they might take a step back this year.
You didn't think they were bad. You just thought they were the worst team in the division.
It's a really good division.
And that really good Raiders team?
The Chargers are also very good. I don't know what we're talking about here. The Chargers defense is one of the best defenses in the NFL.
I don't know if you're familiar with the great philosopher Ric Flair, who said to be the man, you got to beat the man. Nobody's beaten Kansas City. They haven't beaten them in the division in like 5 years. Somebody's got to beat them first.
That's not true. Vegas beat them last year.
To win the division? To win the division? Have they won a division over Kansas City?
Now you're moving the goalposts.
I'm not moving the goalposts.
Because you said they haven't beat them in like 5 years.
I said, have they won a division in 5 years? That's what I said. Have they won a division?
That's not what you said.
Give me a break.
Give me a break.
Yeah. Andy Reid's the best coach in the division still. I'm convinced that even Brandon Staley's still the worst coach in the division. I'm right there. I'm still there. He went for it again on 4th down, didn't get it yesterday. Guy just loves going for it. Doesn't matter where we are. We're going to go for it all the time. 4th down.
Now, of course, I might be changing my tune here because I don't think the Broncos look particularly good right now. But
yeah, apology accepted on Andy Reid's behalf. I will accept that apology on behalf of Andy Reid and the Chiefs. I will.
By the way, I just watched the USC 30 for 30 again last night while I was at work, and turning this on to see Pete Carroll just reminds me how much I don't like Pete Carroll.
It's good to see Ryan's really busting his ass at work there as he's watching the Southern Cal Trojans 30 for 30.
from like 2000, from like 2015. It's not even new.
I like USC Pete Carroll. I hate Seattle Pete Carroll.
Yeah,
aren't they the same? Aren't they the same?
They're not the same.
They're the same. He's the same gum chewing, strutting, just peacocking around. I mean, he's the same guy. He's no different.
Yeah, but it's kind of earned at USC. It's kind of arrogant at Seattle.
He's won a Super Bowl.
30 years older now.
That is true. He does walk around at 70 like he's 25, and that act gets old pretty quickly. I want you to act your age. Like, he probably wears baggy shorts when he goes outside. No 70-year-old man wears baggy athletic shorts.
Joe Buck call that good protection. I'm watching a guy throw his arm across the man's shoulder pads, and here's Joe Buck. Good protection for Denver. That's not good protection. They just didn't throw the damn flag.
Couple more scores as we finish this segment up and move on quickly. The Raiders and the Chargers. Chargers beat the Raiders 24-19, and what actually ended up being a pretty close game at the end. Good game for Justin Herbert, 279 and 3. Other scores out there, and by the way, more Raiders fans than Chargers fans at SoFi Stadium, just for the record. It was very much like Allegiant West out there. It was a very interesting game. Titans losing a shocker to the Giants. Great comeback there from behind by the Giants, showing a lot of grit. All it takes is Brian Dable in week 1 getting all in Daniel Jones' ass on the sidelines. Anybody see that? Anybody see Brian Dable go right to the bench, and he was all in Daniel Jones' business after I think a bad series or whatever. And that seemed to work. Whatever it was, it seemed to motivate the crowd because I thought Jones played okay. I actually thought Jones played well for the most part. Only 188 and 2, but I thought for a while there he was completing a fair amount of passes and doing good things.
That 2-point conversion was ugly.
Yes.
But he got it done.
They got it done. They got a win. Credit to Brian Dable for getting that done. And obviously the Bucs beat the Cowboys 19-3. Tom goes for 212 and a touch. But a great game from Leonard Fournette, 127 on the ground.
Daggering the Dallas Cowboys 2022-2023 season.
Yeah, it's a tough scene for the Dallas Cowboys.
Was that an eliminator preview?
We could talk about that when we get there. First things first, we did this year opt to do a new little segment called the NFL Team Challenge. We all drafted 10 teams in a snake fashion, and I'll reveal those teams to you now, and we'll keep track of the standings as we go through the season. We're going to give 1 point per victory, and last man standing wins this thing, and we're going to come up with a little prize for the winner, and we'll go from there. For Ryan drafted, he had number 1 pick. Ryan took the Bills, the Ravens, the Chargers, the Cowboys, the Broncos, the Saints, the Raiders, the Panthers, the Jets, Giants. I took the Packers, the Rams, the Eagles, the Bengals, the Vikings, Steelers, Cardinals, Lions, Commanders, Cobra Commanders, and the Houston Texans. And Zach took the Bucks, the Chiefs, the 49ers, the Colts, the Titans, the Patriots, the Dolphins, the Browns, the Jags, the Bears. And so far, after week 1, Zach has 5.5 wins. We gave a half to the tie. And Ryan has 5 wins, although the Broncos are still playing. So if the Broncos win tonight, Ryan could have the lead. And I am in dead last with 4.5. Thank you for playing, everybody. So we're going to keep track of those.
It should be noted that the Broncos are losing right now to the undrafted Seahawks.
Yep.
Seahawks and Falcons.
Seahawks and Falcons went undrafted because we wanted to have even numbers. We didn't want anybody to have one extra team. So there is that. So undrafted are the Seahawks and Falcons. Falcons didn't win this week. Seahawks are currently winning. So we will update those standings as we go throughout the season. Prediction segment. Let's predict some games for next week. I sent you guys the list a little earlier today. I took what I think are the 5 most intriguing matchups for us. And we'll have you guys quickly do that, and then we'll move to our power rankings and eliminate a team already. We're the only podcast that talks football that eliminates a team tonight. We're crossing a team off. Every week, we are crossing a team off. We are telling you they are not winning. They are not going to the playoffs. They are not being successful. And for the most part, we're pretty darn good at this.
I think we've missed on one team each year.
Yeah, we've been pretty solid at eliminating early, seeing it and prognosticating it.
This is the year we do it. We're going to run the table.
We're going to run the table this year, 100%, because we're not going to get lost in the moment. We're not overthinking this. Like, I feel like we're going to talk about this tonight, and we're going to make the right call on who we eliminate. I've already got a couple of really solid ones in my head. For the games tonight, let's start with the Thursday night game on Amazon. I know Ryan's all glued to it, although he's going to be in the catcher's position on Thursday night at that point, looking to get a baby at that moment. So I don't know if he's going to be watching this football game.
We're going to be watching this one from the hospital room while the wife sleeps.
Chargers, Chiefs, both teams 1-0. The Chiefs are 3-point favorites. Ryan, where are you going?
In honor of my soon-to-be-born son, Kieran, we are going to go with the LA Chargers on this game.
Is his middle name going to be Chargers or Air Coryell or what are you naming his middle?
The C. The C.
Oh, the C. Okay, not like the Chiefs have a C or anything either. You're right.
I went with my gut on it. We're gonna go with the Chargers.
With the Chargers. Jesus
Christ. I'm a big fan of their pass rush. I thought that adding Khalil Mack made that defensive front kind of scary with him and Joey Bosa over there. We kind of forget about the fact that LA has a decent pass rush. It feels like we kind of forget about that team as far as a defense goes, but they're going to get a lot of talk for their offense, but the defense is going to be challenging, and Kansas City's offensive line looked okay this week, but we know that they can be shaky at times, and I think that this is a game that's going to challenge them on that.
So Chargers to win or cover, or what you going to win
outright?
We're winning.
They're winning. They're
winning
winning
outright. Okay. Zach.
I'm sorry, Ryan, but your son's going to start out 0-1. This will be the Chiefs.
I agree. Give me the Chiefs and the points. Thursday night home game early in the season. Give me the home team all the time.
Did you give us a line? I don't even know what the line was on that game.
Chiefs by 3.
Chiefs by 3.
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, the latest odds have it at Chiefs 3.5. Chiefs 3.5. The opening line was 3. It's Chiefs 3.5 right now.
I'll still take LA.
And I'll definitely still take the Chiefs. Thank you very much. Next game out, another good one, actually. Miami versus Baltimore. Miami on the road, 1-0. Ravens are 1-0. The line is the Ravens 3.5. Zach, we'll start with you.
I think Baltimore's going to win this game. I thought they looked good. And again, it was against the Jets. But I think the quarterback's got something to prove. And like you said, Miami Tua didn't look great, and so I'll take Baltimore.
Ryan,
I'm also going to take Baltimore on this one. I don't believe in Mike McDaniel. I don't believe in what they're doing in
what are you talking
Miami.
about? You were all about him hitting ganj. Like you were like, oh, I love this pot smoking coach. This is going to be great.
I'm after week 1. I didn't think they looked good enough, impressive enough against what I think is going to be a pretty bad Patriots team. I'm with Baltimore on this one.
Ryan didn't want him poking up during the game.
Yeah, that's. I'm going to call him.
Point.
He's Coach Spicoli until further notice. Like he is just the most he probably has the most chonged up locker room office in the NFL. Like you walk in there, it's just a freaking hot box. It's just totally on fire in there. Anyway,
is weed legal in Florida?
Good question. I think it is because I don't think he would have taken the job if it wasn't.
That's a great point.
I think he'd have been like, no, I'm good in San Francisco. Thanks anyway. We're good. I don't need that job. We're all good. Next coach.
I'm good in San Francisco.
We're all good. So now you sound like Chris Collinsworth last night. Holy Jesus.
That's true.
My Lord. Tampa Bay versus New Orleans. Two teams that don't like each other very much, obviously. Ryan, I'm going to let you have this one first. Bucks, Saints. It's currently the Bucks right now by 3.
I am going to go with the New Orleans Saints on this one. Nothing personal against Brady and the Bucks, but they have not historically done well against the Saints. Saints have kind of had their number the last couple of years. I like the Saints to continue to gel and kind of come together after getting down early against the Falcons and being in a position they frankly shouldn't have been in at all. And I'm a fan of their wide receiver core and the Ohio State group they've got there. So I'm going to go with the Saints.
I think Ryan and I are just disagreeing to disagree at this point. I'm going to take Tampa Bay. I think, New Orleans was on the ropes last night against a bad Atlanta team. So that's where my pick's going.
I'm going to say Tampa wins the game. I'm not sure they're going to cover the 3. I think this smells like potentially like a last-second field goal kind of game if they're going to win it. Feels like a 24-21 or 24-22 kind of game where it's going to be tight down to the wire. I'm not sure they cover. I'll take the Bucks to win though overall. Next game. A bounce-back game, potentially. The Bears versus the Packers on Sunday Night Football. Zach, I'll give you this one first.
Packers by 70. I've watched football long enough to know that playing against Aaron Rodgers after a disappointing game is not going to be fun for Chicago.
The line on this game is absurd.
What's the line?
The Packers by 10.
Yeah, give me that, and I'll take the Packers to cover that easy.
The Packers, again, you're trying to keep your way in there. You are looking for a road in to Lambeau.
You can call it what you want, but not only is Zach right about Aaron Rodgers after a disappointing game, the rain is not coming to save Chicago this time. They should have gotten run by San Francisco.
I feel like you're probably right. I think the Packers should probably win this game. I don't think they're covering 10 points. I'll take the Bears and the points. I think they keep this inside of 10 points. Packers probably win the game, but I'm going to take the Bears to cover inside of 10 points. I think they can do that. I think
Christian Watson and 4 touchdowns.
They gained some confidence in that rain game. Now, again, they don't have to apologize for winning that game. And maybe they rally around each other, and I think they play hard here. I don't think they're beaten down yet. I think they're feeling like they can win this game. We'll see if they can. I doubt it, but let's see it.
Romeo Dobbs breakout game.
Yeah, you told me about that great Romeo Dobbs game. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure
it's
coming.
A couple of appearances.
Yeah, you waved. Yeah, you had a cup of coffee in there. That was great. Anyway, last one: Monday Night Football. Vikings, Eagles. Both teams 1-0. Ryan, the line is Eagles by 1.5.
I'm gonna have the Vikings win that game.
On the road in Philly. Vikes don't have a great history of doing that, of winning in Philly or winning on the road or winning in prime time. Kirk Cousins, etc. But new sheriff in town, as you say, right?
Yeah, it's a new era. I really do think that, you beat a division rival. It's not a super emotional win. You know what I mean? It's not like you won it last second. You weren't down a bunch in the game and you came back and won. It really wasn't in doubt the entire game. I thought, scheme wise, I thought they looked pretty good. And it looked like Philadelphia's secondary had problems with Detroit. And I'm not shitting on Detroit because I kind of like what they're doing over there. But Minnesota is significantly more talented on the outside than Detroit is. And they're scheming their guys open in a way that I think is challenging for teams even with good secondaries. And I don't think Philadelphia has a particularly good secondary.
Zach?
Yeah, they also lost one of their pass rushers to ACL.
Yeah, that's all bad news if you're coming up against Minnesota.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. I agree. All right, Zach, where are you going with that?
I'm going to go with the Eagles, so I can disagree with Ryan one more time. Honestly, I was kind of torn on this one, but I think that I'm going to take the home team, and I'm also not quite convinced yet on Minnesota's full package. Like, let's see him do it here a couple weeks with stuff on film. They look solid yesterday for sure, but I think I'm going to go with the Eagles.
I'm going to take the Eagles as well. Home game is just early on. I know that over the recent years that the home field advantage thing has kind of been equalized. It seems like teams are better at playing on the road than they used to be. But I still think that matters a little bit, and I still think there's that primetime stink. Why? Because they're going to ask Kirk Cousins about it the entire week. It's going to be, your record on primetime is this. It's going to be there regardless if he thinks it's a new era, there's a new sheriff in town or not. It's going to be talked about all week. And I do think there's a psych out factor, and I do think Kirk's got to win a few more of these big games before I'm ready to just give him the keys to it and say, well, that's it. He's cured. He's a top 5 quarterback in the league. I need to see it a little bit more first. Give me the Eagles to win this game. But what I think will be a very entertaining and a good game. So that's where we're going. And we'll monitor those standings and let you know where we're at into next week. All right. Is it too early for power rankings, guys? Is it too early? Should we wait on that a week? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we need a little more time.
Got to let this play out a week. So we're going to let it play out a week. But we are going to eliminate a team.
Sure are.
Not everybody survives on this podcast. People are going every week. This week, who's up for elimination?
Go ahead, Zach.
I think there's a couple candidates.
Me too.
We kicked around a few last night. I think the Jets are on the list, but apparently Robert Saleh's taking names of who's disrespecting him.
Okay, come on, Robert Saleh. You're welcome on the podcast anytime if you want to come on in here and have a word with Zach Ryan and I.
That'd be a huge get.
It'd be a big get. I think our numbers go up if we get Robert Saleh on here. We can call him Bob. Bob Saleh is on the pod.
I think you have to talk about the Cowboys after losing the quarterback for a while.
Yeah, 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. Who knows where they're going to be with Cooper Rush?
Ryan, what are you thinking?
I'm looking at Atlanta. I think Atlanta had their best shot and lost. On the AFC side, it's so tough because a lot of those teams that they looked better than I thought that they might. You could maybe kick around Jacksonville in that conversation, but even there, I think that division's so bad that it's like the AFC or the NFC East was a couple of years ago. We really can't eliminate any teams until the end because they're all just so bad. Any of them could kind of eke their way through it, and everybody else, and I think in the AFC is good enough to maybe get in on the bubble. Maybe with the exception of New England and the Jets. I think that those two teams for me are probably the clear bottom right now if you're not talking AFC South.
I do think it's between the Jets and the Falcons. I think the Cowboys, I'm not ready to say that they're not going to do well here with Cooper Rush, but that, we have to see how that plays itself out. There might be more talent there, at least on the defense. They might be able to steal a couple games defensively. So I'm not ready to give up on Dallas just yet. I mean, I don't think they're winning anything, but
rest of the divisions 1-0.
That's true. That's true. And so there's a lot to be concerned about there. But do I think they can hang with the Cobra Commanders? Do I think they can hang with New York? Yeah, I do. Even with Cooper Rush at quarterback. So I don't know if I can go there. I think I got Jets or Falcons. I'm happy with either one. Which one do you think we should go with? I'll leave it to you guys if we can create a consensus. I lean Jets.
I think I'm leaning the other way to the Falcons.
Okay.
I think the Falcons have the worst quarterback in the NFC.
Geno Smith is better than Marcus Mariota.
Looking at him tonight, he is.
Yeah, tonight he is. Absolutely, yes.
Geno's dicing tonight. Although he started 10 for 10. I don't know what he's at now.
Yeah, no, it's true. He's played well tonight. So I don't mind Atlanta because I think we agree that they're not better than Tampa. They're not better than New Orleans. They're going to chase two teams in the division already.
Yeah.
So, and the NFC stinks.
Right. I think, the other quarterback you could put in that discussion is Goff. Just digressing a moment. But I think I'd go Atlanta. I think what Ryan said too, they gave their best shot. They did not come away with it. Nice little DK Metcalf turnover there. I think that Atlanta is, and I don't think Atlanta wants to win.
You might be right.
And they're fundamentally the least talented team in that division. They have nothing on defense. They have no talent on defense. AJ Terrell might be okay, but there's no one else there on that team.
I will say this. I don't think the Panthers are good either.
No, I don't think so either.
It's true.
But I think they've got more talent than Atlanta. I think they're.
Yeah.
I would say that coaching is about equal between the two, and they've got the talent edge for sure. Their quarterback is better. I'd take Mayfield over Mariota every day. I have to go with Atlanta on this. I don't think that Atlanta's got the juice to hang with 99% of the teams in the league right now. And that was, again, we've said it 100 times already. It was a home game, a home opener against a division opponent. You were up, and what did you do? You did what the Falcons do, and you gave it away. Starting to feel a bit like termites in the building there.
Tough scene.
Since that 2016 Super Bowl, that was it 28 to 7 or something like that.
28-3. Don't look. There's shirts made. Don't. You got to be careful here.
Well, that's what I was asking, but it's. Since then, it's really felt like they've not been able to hold a lead organizationally.
So let's make it the Falcons. Then.
Let's make it a Falcon. Officially, the Atlanta Falcons, you are eliminated hereby. After 1 week, you're out. Get out of here. The tribe has spoken. Time for you to go. So that is that for the Week 1 NFL pod. Anything to leave us? Ryan, first of all, we may not have you on the pod next week. I know you think you're going to spare an hour. I'm not sure that that's going to happen. I might have to call Ty. Ty might have to come in and pinch hit. We'll see what happens. You're going to have to clue us in, keep us updated on the situation.
Game time decision, but we're leaning towards playing, gentlemen.
Zach, I don't think he has any idea what he's getting himself into, does he?
Best of luck to you, Ryan.
Ryan, we wish you the best of luck. And next time we hear from you, Ryan, you're going to be a dad, and we're very, very excited for you on that one. That's going to be super, super cool. As a guy who's a father of 2 cats, let me just say that I'm very, very excited for you and very proud of the fact that you are having this child. This will be great. Enjoy that. And Zach, team is playing well. Best of luck to you this week. It's going to be you got a tough stretch of football games coming up, but you're leading our alma mater back to prominence, and you're doing some great stuff. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
All right. And again, if you want to listen to the pod, I really appreciate you finding a Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Again, like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. You can find me at Twitter, Tim Anderson Pod. You can find Ryan on Twitter at Sweet Cane Music. You can find Zach at ManVerseGame1. You can send him all the messages that you want to send them. That would be great. You can find our Facebook page if you want and like that as well. You can find us everywhere. Everywhere, I tell you. Get your podcast, share it out, subscribe. I would really appreciate it. So until next time, for Ryan, for Zach, this is Tim saying keep your head up, and we'll see you.